The last nail went in with a dull, satisfying thunk that still rings in my memory every time I think about that place. I remember standing back, sweat trickling down my face, just staring at that footbridge of me, first real project after finally escaping city chaos. It was nothing fancy, just a simple wooden span stretching over a quiet little creek, but to me it felt like a portal into my new life, the kind of small victory you just want to hold on to for a moment longer, soaking in that pine-scented air so clean you could almost taste it. Then, like something out of a bad dream, the peace shattered with the stuttering roar of a diesel engine. You ever have a day where everything is perfect and then, out of nowhere, the universe says, "Not so fast, buddy"? Yeah, that happened. I looked up expecting maybe a neighbor checking in, but instead I saw this big, yellow bulldozer kind you usually see flattening lots for McMansion right toward my brand new bridge. At first I thought they must be lost, so I waved, shouted, tried to get the guy's attention. Didn't matter. The driver never even glanced at me. The blade scraped low, and with a horrible cracking, splintering noise that made my insides twist, the bulldozer just plowed right through the bridge, smashing it like it was nothing but a stack of popsicle sticks. My jaw hit the ground. Then, as if this circus needed a ringleader, out stepped a woman in a spotless black SUV-perfect blonde bob, sunglasses perched up, the kind of smile that's all teeth and zero warmth. She walked over with this air of authority, arms crossed so tight I'm surprised her pearls didn't snap, and she goes, "I'm Barb from the Homeowners Association. That bridge was an eyesore and a safety hazard. I had it removed." Just like that. She said it like she was reading the morning weather. No guilt, no hesitation, just pure HOA queen bee energy. I tried to explain, to argue, "You had it removed? I just built that. It's on my property." She just waved a hand like I was a fly in her Chardonnay. Rules are rules. No unapproved structures. It blocks the view of the lake. We have standards here. We, like she was some royal, we speaking on behalf of all humanity. I could barely get a word out. There was sawdust in my mouth. My hands were actually shaking, and she just looked down at the wreckage with this little smirk. "Better clean that up, or I'll have my crew charge you for it," she said before gliding back in her SUV and disappearing in a cloud of entitlement. I just stood there, staring at the wreckage, feeling my blood start to boil. No, not even boil, more like freeze, then boil, then freeze again. You ever get so mad you don't know if you want to scream or laugh or just lie down? That was me, right there in the middle of my little cabin's clearing, birds chirping like nothing happened, as if mocking me. I couldn't focus, couldn't even sit still. Eventually, I pulled up the HOA bylaws on my laptop, scrolling through page after page looking for any mention of bridges, structures, views, whatever, nothing. Not a single line. I kept scrolling, kept digging, and that's when the light bulb went off. Barb didn't care about the rules, she just liked being in charge. So I started digging deeper, not literally, I mean research. I checked out the subdivision maps online, traced property lines, found the records for my lot. For Hersheyers being the kind of house that makes you wonder if Martha Stewart ever cries herself to sleep. That's when I noticed this tiny strip of land on the old map, a weird sliver right between Barb's backyard and her neighbor's fence, basically a forgotten chunk nobody claimed. Most people would have shrugged it off. Me? I saw opportunity. Quick search on the county database confirmed it was a separate parcel for sale, totally unclaimed. So, on a whim, I called up the real estate agent. He chuckled when I told him what I wanted. Nobody's wanted that lot in decades, too small to build on. I just said, "I'll take it. Cash." Paper signed, deal done in 2 days flat. Barb had no idea. She still thought that slice of lakeside brush was hers, probably pictured it as her future rose garden or whatever. But I had a different plan. A few weeks later, while Barb was probably out getting her nails done, the big flatbed truck pulled up outside my cabin. This time, no bulldozer. Instead, the crew unloaded steel beams, lumber, concrete, basically the ingredient for something a little more permanent than a footbridge. I was sipping my coffee by the window when my phone started buzzing. It was Barb, of course. "What's going on over there? You don't have a permit to build." "That's my property," she screeched. I let her rant for a while, then wandered down to the little strip of land, deed in my back pocket, construction crew ready to go. When she showed up in person, hair wild, face red, stomping down the driveway, I finally pulled out the deed and handed her a copy. "Actually, Barb," I said, keeping my voice as calm as I could, "I own this lot now, and I have all the permits right here." She froze. Honest to God, I've never seen someone go from furious to speechless so fast. It was like watching the Grinch realize Christmas came anyway. She tried to sputter something about calling her lawyer, but for once, she had nothing. And let me tell you, the next 2 weeks were some of the most satisfying days of my life. Construction crews hammering, power saws buzzing, trucks backing up with that beeping sound music to my ears. Every time Barb peeked out her window, she got a perfect view of my crew turning that forgotten little plot into a brand new, sparkling dock jutting out into the lake. By the time the last beam was locked in place, I swear I could have floated off the ground. That dock was a thing of beauty sturdy benches, a little roofed area, just big enough for a couple friends, a couple beers, and all the sunsets you could stand. We threw a party that first night, me and some friends from down the road, laughing so loud you could probably hear us in the next county. Sun going down, lake all orange and purple, and there was Barb standing in her window, watching. Not coming out, not saying a word, just forced to live with the fact that she could never step foot on my dock. She could look, sure, but it was mine all because she tried to bulldoze something that didn't belong to her. Funny thing is, from my side of the lake, the views never looked better. I guess that's the thing people like Barb never get. You can't just stomp over folks and expect them to stay down. Sometimes, if you're clever, you can use all that negativity, all that spite, and turn it into something even sweeter than revenge. You build your own peace, plank by plank, and sometimes you even get to watch the people who tried to break you realize they lost not in some big dramatic showdown, but in a quiet moment where the world just keeps turning without them in charge. So let me throw this out to you. Have you ever dealt with someone like Barb, somebody who thinks the rules are just for other people? Where do you draw the line between standing your ground and letting things go? Drop a comment below, tell me your story, and let's see how many folks have had to outsmart a bully or two. You never know, maybe your story is just the twist somebody else needs. Let me tell you, that first dock party should have been the happy ending, right? Good friends, cold drinks, music drifting over the water. I could almost feel the last of the city's stress melt out of my shoulders as the sun set and laughter echoed across the lake. But with people like Barb, you never really get a clean break. There's always another chapter. You know what I mean? A couple days later, I woke up early habit from all those years working city shifts and wandered out to the dock, coffee in hand, just to breathe. The air was so still I could hear a fish jump halfway across the lake. I was just sitting there, thinking maybe peace was finally settling in, when I noticed something odd out by the shore. At first, I figured it was just driftwood, but as I walked closer, I realized someone had dumped a whole mess of junk, broken patio chairs, bags of old leaves, even a busted grill right next to my property line, half in the water. It wasn't just an eyesore, it was like a little bomb of spite. No prizes for guessing who might have arranged it. My first instinct was to storm up to Barb's place and give her a piece of my mind, but something in me said, don't take the bait. That's when the twist hit me, a little memory from reading those HOA rules cover to cover. There was this one line, buried deep in the fine print. All lakefront lots must remain clear of debris at all times. Violators will be fined. See, Barb's property wrapped around that junk pile too, and if I took a few good photos and sent them in well, the HOA board might start seeing things my way for once. But I didn't want to turn into some HOA tattletale. That wasn't me. So instead, I got creative. I hauled out the old chairs, the grill, all the mess, set it neatly at the curb, and left a little hand-painted sign that said, "Free to a good home courtesy of your neighbor Barb." The next morning, folks from all around the lake came by, chuckling, loading up their trucks with free stuff. By noon, everything was gone except my sign, which I stuck right by my mailbox, just for a little punctuation mark. You'd think that would have been the end of the drama, but life's never that simple. The following week, I started noticing strange cars parked along the road near my place. Then I saw a surveyor out there with his little orange flags, measuring and pacing, and my stomach did a slow roll. Here's where the next twist comes. Eine twist even Barb didn't see coming. Turns out, the county had decided to re-examine property lines around the lake due to some old zoning dispute. Suddenly, everyone's deeds, including Barb's and mine, were getting a second look. One afternoon, I was on the dock sanding down a rough spot when this old guy with a floppy hat ambled over Frank from 2 cabins down, the unofficial lake historian. He leaned in and whispered, there's an old rumor that Barb's house actually sits 10 feet onto what used to be public land. Back in the day, the original developer just drew the line wherever was convenient. He laughed, low and conspiratorial. But she doesn't want that coming out. Now, I'm not one for revenge, but you can't make this stuff up. I checked the records, double-checked the surveys, and sure enough, her patio, the one she used for all those fancy garden parties, was technically on land she didn't own. I could have gone nuclear, called the county, turned her life upside down. But looking at her house, the perfect lawn, the tight little world she'd built, I felt, I don't know, maybe a little pity. Maybe some people need control because everything else feels out of reach. So instead, I did something different. I wrote Barb a note short, simple, just said, "Hey, just wanted you to know there's some new county folks looking at property lines. Might be smart to check your records." Left in her mailbox and walked away. No threat, no gloating, just neighbor to neighbor. A week later, I saw Barb out by her roses, looking tired for once, like maybe she'd spent a few nights worrying about more than just the view. She caught my eye, didn't say a word, but for the first time, she didn't glare, she just nodded. Maybe that's the closest thing to a peace treaty we'll ever get out here. Now the days run slow. The dock's still standing, stronger than ever. Sometimes I sit out there with a line in the water, thinking about how easy it is for people to get tangled up in fences and lines and rules, trying to keep what's theirs when, honestly, nothing lasts forever. The sun goes down, the lake glows gold, and every now and then, I hear laughter from Barb's house drifting over the water. It doesn't bother me anymore. We're neighbors, like it or not, sharing a piece of something bigger than both of us. And that's real life out here, messy, a little petty, sometimes hilarious, always unexpected. You win some, you lose some, and if you're lucky, you get to keep a little piece for yourself. Let me ask you this: what would you have done in my shoes? Stand your ground or let things slide? Comment below, share your wildest neighbor stories, and let's see who's got the craziest lakefront legend. Maybe next time, I'll be telling your story instead of mine.